Hello and welcome. We're going to look at section 3.7, writing linear equations, constructing linear equations given a certain piece of information. Basically building up a model from the information that we can glean from a problem. Recall our slope-intercept form of a linear equation looks like this: y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope. Remember, rise over run, or change in y over change in x. Change in y over change in x. And b is our y-intercept, where the graph crosses the y-axis. Or in other words, where the x-coordinate is 0. If the x-coordinate is 0, then this whole term, what you might call the variable term, that goes away when x is 0, when the input is 0. So anyway, we're going to use some of these ideas, these facts, to construct an equation from certain information. And there's three main types of information you might get that you could use to construct these equations. The first type is if you're given the slope and the y-intercept, guess what? You can just plug them in. We're then going to take a step removed from that. So what if we're given the slope, but not the y-intercept, but just some point on the line? Well, then we have to use that point on the line to get the y-intercept from that. The third case is one more step removed. We're not given the slope at all, but we're just given 2 points on the line. From 2 points, we can calculate the slope. And once we have the slope, well, now we're just back to situation 2, in which case we have the slope. And then one of those 2 points, you could use either of those 2 points in this second situation. So we're kind of reducing our problem to previous simpler situations until we get to our first situation where we can just have the slope and the y-intercept and we just plug them in. So let's do that. Let's start with situation 1. We're given the slope and the y-intercept. So this is pretty straightforward. Let's just do an example, quick example right here. Find the equation of the line with slope -3 and y-intercept, let's say 0,7. 0,7. Well, there's your m, and there's your y-intercept b. So just write down until you have the slope-intercept form just embedded in your brain, ingrained in there. Not a bad idea to write out the slope-intercept form first, then replace the stuff that they give you. M is -3 times x plus, don't forget the x, plus b, which is 7. Hey, we're done. That's it. There's the equation of the line. So that's pretty straightforward. So let's go one step removed from that. Say we're not given that kind of information. Say we're not given the y-intercept. We're not given that, but instead you're given a point on the line. So we're given the slope and some point on the line. Find the equation of the line with a slope of, let's say 2/3, and through the point 9,4, I think is what I'm going to use. Let's write our point slope form. What do we know? We know the slope. So let's just plug in the slope and then see where that takes us. Y equals 2/3 x plus b. We don't know what b is. We don't know what the y-intercept is. We do have a point, though. We know that the point 94 is on that line. And all the points on that line, on the graph of the line, are solutions to this equation here. So that means they make this equation true. So if I plugged in 4 for y and 9 for x, we would still have a true statement. And then that would leave us with only one variable b that we could solve for. So I'm going to do that. Let's plug in 4 for y. Remember, 4 is the y value. It's the second coordinate, but it goes, because y is listed first, that's the y coordinate. Don't put the 9 in for the y, that you'll have it reversed. So 4 equals 2/3 times 9 plus b. So all we need to do now is solve for b. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus b is 4. Subtract 6 from both sides. Looks like b is -2. Now we're not done. That's not the answer. The answer is an equation. It says find the equation of the line. So let's do that. Let's plug in the b now into the original equation, into this equation here, this partial equation. Y equals 2/3 x minus 2. And that's the equation. So the process we went through was plug in the slope into y equals mx plus b. Plug it in for m there. And then plug in the point for xy in the equation. And then solve for b. And then once you have b, you have your y-intercept and your slope, and you're back to situation 1. All right, so the third situation is, what if we're not given the slope at all, but we're just given 2 points? 2 points to determine a line, so we should be able to find the equation just from 2 points. So we're just given 2 points on the line. Go up here. Well, our intermediate goal is going to be to find the slope from those 2 points. Once we have the slope, we'll then reduce the problem back to situation 2, where we have a slope and a point on the line. So let's look at an example of this. Find the equation of the line through -5, 7 and 10, -2. Let's try that one. First, let's find the slope from the points. Calculate the slope from the points. Remember, that's rise over run. Change in y over change in x. Or just subtracting the y's. The difference in the y's over the difference in x's. So in this case, it doesn't matter what order you do this in, but you have to do it in the same order in the y's and the x's. So let's do the y's. Let's do 7 minus -2. Since I started with 7, I have to start with -5 on the bottom. -5 is the x's. -5 minus 10. Well, it looks like we've got 7 minus -2. That's 7 plus 2. So that's 9 divided by, looks like -15. And you can reduce that because you can see that 3 goes into the top. And the bottom here, -3/5. So now we have the slope. All right. Now, as in situation 2, pick a point, either point, and plug it in. Plug it in for xy, and solve for b. So it doesn't matter which point you pick, plug it in, and then solve for b. So let's write down what we have so far. We have y equals negative 3/5 x. We've got our slope so far. And then I'm going to plug in 10, negative 2 for xy. Now 10 is the x value, so it goes here. This is the 10, and this is the negative 2. So I'll write that negative 2 equals negative 3/5 x, negative 3/5 times 10 plus b, and we'll just solve for b. Let's simplify this term here first. Negative 2 equals negative 6 plus b. Again, I'm keeping the numbers pretty nice here. They might not always come out nicely. Looks like b is 4. Now we plug in b, just like situation 1, negative 3/5 x plus 4 for now. That's all I've got. Thanks for watching. See you next time.